Imagine living in a world where mysterious portals called gates open up, leading to deadly dungeons filled with monsters. Humanity's only defense will be hunters, individuals gifted with supernatural abilities. But what about you?
Welcome back to Aniflix 360, my friends. Today, we're kicking off with one of stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat, the most electrifying anime of all time, Solo Leveling. The story of an ordinary hunter, who transforms into the most powerful force in the world. Trust us, you won't want to miss a single moment. So sit back, relax, and get ready. The story begins with Sung Jinwoo, a member of the Hunter Association, which was formed due to the appearance of gates connecting our real world to another world inhabited by monsters. These monsters are defeated, and their stones and weapons are seized and sold for profit. Within the Hunter Association, hunters are ranked from S, the strongest, to E, the weakest. Sung was an E-rank hunter, known as the weakest hunter in the history of the Hunter Association. He struggles to survive during missions, barely earning enough money to support his sick mother and younger sister. Every mission is a deadly trap for him, yet he persists because he has no other choice. One day, he joins a D-rank hunter team that seems low risk, tasked with raiding one of the gates. Everyone welcomes Sung because his presence means the mission will be as easy as possible. But as soon as they enter, something feels off. This is Ju-hee, the team's healer and a C-rank hunter, who has feelings for Sung and cares deeply for him. She often tries to convince him not to go on new dungeon raids because he keeps getting injured, but he doesn't listen, telling her he has no other choice. After a while, the team leader gathers them and gives them a motivational speech before starting the mission. Here, we see Sung entering with the team, hesitant but encouraging himself despite only having a weak dagger to fight with. He has to work to support his family. Sung enters the dungeon and attacks a small monster, taking its crystal. He's thrilled and thinks he's achieved something. But suddenly, another monster attacks him and nearly kills him. Sung tries to defend himself with his weak dagger, but it breaks. The monster stabs Sung, and at that moment, Ju-hee arrives, sees Sung injured, and uses her healing powers to treat him after another hunter kills the monster. By this time, the hunters have defeated the dungeon's boss monster. Suddenly, one of them notices a hidden cave and says, "There's still a hidden place here, let's explore it." The leader says, "No, any place we don't know about shouldn't be entered, or the consequences could be dire." One of the hunters replies, "Let's go in, maybe we'll find more crystals to sell and profit from." The leader is convinced and says, "We'll take a vote and see what the majority decides." There are 13 hunters in the team, and 6 choose to enter, while the other 6 choose to leave. Only Sung is left, and his decision will determine whether they enter or not. Sung wants to escape due to his weak energy, but he's only obtained 1 crystal, barely enough to support his family for 2 days. So, he chooses to enter. Sung and the team reach the new dungeon and begin to open its door. The team enters the dungeon, and the doors start closing behind them. The torches ignite on their own. But Sung notices a large statue and is puzzled by its size. At this moment, the leader sees an inscription on one of the statues and goes to read it. The first sentence says, "Those who enter here and do not follow the rules will not leave alive." One of the hunters is terrified by the inscription and rushes toward the door, about to escape, but suddenly one of the statues approaches and kills him. Everyone is horrified, and the large statue's gaze falls on Sung. He feels intense fear and realizes danger is inevitable. He shouts loudly for everyone to bow their heads, and suddenly the place is engulfed in flames. It seems like the end. Some hunters die, and afterward, the leader thanks Sung because his warning saved them from death. At this moment, one of the hunters stands up and says, "I'm confident in my speed. I won't die here." Everyone tries to convince him not to move, but he doesn't listen and runs toward the door at full speed. Suddenly, the large statue obliterates him with a laser from its eye. Hope begins to fade, but Sung doesn't despair or give up. He starts searching for anything in the room to escape and notices the inscription. The final rule appears: a sacrifice must be made. A deadly countdown begins. If no one is sacrificed by staying in the dungeon, the rest won't be able to leave, and everyone will die. Fear spreads, and some hunters start withdrawing, citing their families or children. The leader at this moment says to Sung, "Take Ju-hee and escape. I'll stay in your place." They want one sacrifice, and as the leader, I must take full responsibility. Ju-hee, at this point, has collapsed from exhaustion, and leader's leg is severed, leaving him unable to move. So, Sung asks leader to take Ju-hee and leave while he stays in the dungeon. Ju-hee is heartbroken and says to Sung, "I won't leave without you." He promises her he'll escape safely and gives her the crystal he obtained at the start of the mission to deliver to his family. The door closes, and the statues approach Sung. He feels the end is near. He tries to fight the statues with his comrades' weapons, but to no avail. They pummel him, and his strength is completely drained. At this moment, a message suddenly appears.
You have been chosen.
Sung sees the message: "You have acquired the skill, Courage of the Weak. If you do not agree within a split second, your heart will stop, and everything will end. Do you agree to become a player?" Sung, at this moment, doesn't understand anything, but he chooses yes, and then loses consciousness. Sung wakes up in a hospital and looks at his severed arm, only to find it has healed. His injured leg is also intact. He thinks everything that happened was just a dream. Two elite members of the Hunter Association enter to check on him and inform him that he is the sixth survivor of the Rank 4 dungeon massacre. They ask him to recount what happened. But strangely, his story doesn't match what the elites saw, because when they arrived, there were no statues near Sung. If it weren't for the fact that the victims' accounts matched, no one would have believed him. They tell him, "This means one thing: you've had an awakening, Sung, and your power has increased." Sung is shocked and asks, "What do you mean by awakening?" They explain that it's a rare phenomenon where a hunter's power increases after missions, potentially elevating them from E rank to A rank or even S rank. Sung is stunned and asks for a way to measure his increased energy. They give him an energy measuring device, but his power remains unchanged. At this moment, a message appears: "Congratulations, you have become a player." Then another message appears: "You must complete daily quests, or you will be transported to the penalty zone. Daily quest: train to become stronger. Exercises: 100 push-ups, 100 squats, run, 10 kilometers." Sung ignores the messages due to his exhaustion and difficulty moving. Time passes quickly, and the day ends. But while he's sleeping, he's suddenly transported to a strange place. Yes, it's the penalty zone. Monsters appear behind him, and his punishment is to keep running from them for 4 hours, or he will die. Sung struggles until his energy is depleted, but he manages to survive the penalty and returns to the hospital. The nurses see him in this state and barely manage to save him. Here, Sung understands the situation. The next day, the daily quests renew, and Sung starts completing them before breakfast every day. As a result, his energy and physical fitness increase significantly, and he receives a gift box at the end of each day for completing the daily quest. His body's energy continues to grow, and he gains additional strength points. On the 4th day, Sung wakes up and completes his daily quest. When it's time for the gift box, he finds an unusual gift, a key to a rank 4 dungeon. Sung wants to explore it but is anxious and scared because of what happened before. However, he gathers his courage and goes to the dungeon. Until the last moment, he hesitates to enter, afraid of what he might see inside, but he encourages himself and enters. After entering, the exit door closes, and he can only leave if he has a teleportation stone or defeats the dungeon boss, or else he'll die inside. But this time, instead of running away, he smiles and says, "Let me see what I can really do." Sung begins exploring the dungeon cautiously and encounters 3 weak monsters. They unite against Sung and try to kill him, but he barely manages to fend off their attack, fighting them with his weak dagger until he kills one of them, increasing his strength. He then kills the other 2, but suddenly a dangerous monster named the Iron-Fanged Wolf attacks him, a very strong wolf. Sung's dagger breaks, but he overcomes the wolf due to his increased physical strength. He also gains a storage space from which he can summon a giant sword capable of easily defeating any monster he encounters. At this moment, Sung sits in a corner and begins exploring his skills and stats, discovering that with every monster he kills, his level as a hunter increases. He's now at level 2, and the more monsters he kills, the higher his level and strength will grow. But as he walks, he finds that the wolf he defeated has brought its siblings, and they surround him from all directions. But will this stop our legend? Of course not. Sung starts taking them down one by one, and no one can stand against him anymore. Sung's transformation is undeniable. He's no longer the weakest. He enters a low-level dungeon alone, ready to test his new strength. The monsters that once terrified him are now easy prey. Every strike of his sword becomes unstoppable, and he defeats monsters with ease. His speed and strength surpass their abilities. His stats reach new heights, and with every battle, he becomes stronger, his confidence growing with each victory. The weak hunter from the past has disappeared, leaving only the predator in a world full of prey. Sung now fights not for survival but for dominance. What happens next? Sung's journey from the weakest to the strongest has just begun. What secrets does the system hide? How strong can he become? And who, or what, made him a player in the first place? Find out in the next part of this epic solo leveling recap. Here we reach the end, my friends. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more thrilling recaps and in-depth analysis, only on Aniflix 360. See you in part 2.